it's time to try the next shape for the back scratchers. I want to do half the width of this board, which is like 3/4 inches by 1.5. And then I think I want to use the end of this. It's just one of those pine pieces that they put on pallets for like separating things for packages, but it should be fine. So basically have the handle coming in and that sticking up, kind of like this. So I cut the handle on the table saw, and then I used my, for better or worse, my small parts sled to cut the vertical slice through this end piece by running it through this way carefully, and then glued it in with a combination of Titebond 3 and thick super glue. So we'll let that dry, and then we'll see how it goes for sanding and such. But basically the end result is having this come in, get wider, up and back shape-wise, and then have like an indent on the behind piece so that there's a sharp point, but the sharp point is backed up by a decent amount of wood in this direction so that the point should be sharp but solid. Whereas if you had, because it's going across grain, whereas if you had the grain running in this direction, a thin piece would tend to want to split off. This hopefully won't want to split off and will last a little bit better. So that's what we're going to try. So once this gets dried, I'll work on shaping the handle and putting this probably on my power sander to shape the end and see if that works. Hopefully it will. If not, we will try again. But I have 2 of those actually in progress. One's clamped in the vise. The difference is one's a little bit taller in this direction to see what a good height is for that part. So we'll see how that goes. But yeah, between the 2 of them, we should figure out at least, well, we'll figure out at least if this type of setup works. It's not that hard to do, but which should mean, you know, repeating it is easier. Well, the next shaped attempt at back scratchers is mostly done. I still have to finish the finish, but I got the shaping done. I did most of the shaping for the head from the square to the rounded shape on my big 12-inch disc sander. And then I did the shaping of the handle with the sanding block and the little Ryobi sander. And that seemed to work pretty good. The handle is nice and comfortable. There's 2 different heads on it. One has smaller fingers and one has longer fingers. The longer finger gives a much more intense scratch that would also work through the shirt decently, at least a t-shirt. The other one would work and have a little softer scratch. It would probably also work through a shirt, but it would work fine. So it just depends on if you want a more intense scratch, you could use this one. If you want a less intense, you could use this one, but both should work fine. And you could use this one, the larger one, or the longer finger one, just as good, just don't push as hard. If you push hard with the intense one, you're really going to get an intense back scratch. But yeah, I think it worked pretty cool. The combination of super glue and wood glue worked fine to attach the heads, and I think that should be plenty of surface area because it's side grain the whole way along for these sides, and the bottom's on end grain, but there's 2 full sides on side grain, so that should hold just fine. But yeah, the colors came out pretty cool considering they're both pine. And one thing I learned from this is, and I kind of knew already, but if you have the top of the spike the darker wood, it will be more sturdy, because the darker wood is usually the harder wood in the wood most of the time. So I should have planned that a little bit better. I figured that out towards the end of doing it, so towards the end I was trying to get it to go that route. But yeah, I think this will work. So I have to find out if the person will think these will be fine, and if so, we'll see about, well, first I'll finish it, and then also find out if he wants a hole in to allow a string to hang it, or if he's just going to set it down. Because, I mean, these are 21 inches, so they work really good from top of the back down, but you have to find somewhere long enough to hang it, or it works fine just sitting on a desk. So, yeah, I think that's cool. So that's another shape figured out. As shapes go, this one does take more work, because you have to do the two pieces, glue them together, and then do all the sanding and such. The easiest one was one of the previous shapes where I just had the handle and then the oak blade that came up out of it. That's the quickest one to make so far of shapes. And when I put the teeth in that one, that gives a really intense, really nice back scratch. So that, I think, would be a good shape to be able to do. But these are cool. And it has, like, one of them has 7 fingers and one has 8. And it is wider, so you can scratch more at once. But overall, I think it's pretty cool. So we'll see how it goes. I'll send him the video and say, hey, what do you think? If these might work, there you go. I'll have these finished up probably some night this week. I'll be able to finish up this, and then it'll be nice and smooth with the polyurethane down. I used the triple thick polyurethane again. Since I just have to put a finish on and then it's done, like this much, and then sand and it's done, I don't think I'm going to do a follow-up video. And even for putting hole through with a handle or a little tie, that's very simple too, so I don't think I'm going to video that if he ends up deciding to want that. But yeah, 2 more down. And again, it's a cool shape, and it works. My wife tested, and she definitely approves of the one that has the least intense finger. She says, oh, that worked perfect. So, yay, the boss approves. So, I think it should work fine.